Once upon a time, at the edge of a wide, whispering forest, there stood a tiny farmhouse. It was creaky and drafty and smelled faintly of hay, and inside lived a brother and sister named Milo and Clara. Their family was very poor, and while they loved Halloween more than any other night of the year, they never had costumes like the other children in town. While the streets filled with witches in glittery hats, knights in shining armor, and princesses with gowns that shimmered like stars, Milo and Clara wore nothing more than old bed sheets with holes cut out for eyes. They tried to smile and pretend it was fun, but deep down their hearts ached for something more magical. Then came the night before Halloween. The air was cool and crisp, and the silver moon was high in the sky. As the children looked out across the yard, Clara gasped. Right at the edge of the grass lay a piece of their favorite candy. And just beyond it, another, and then another. The candies gleamed like tiny treasures scattered across the earth. Milo and Clara held hands and followed the trail. It led them deeper into the forest, twisting and turning through brambles and tall grass until at last they came to a clearing. And there, glowing softly in the moonlight, was the largest pumpkin they had ever seen. It was as tall as a small house, warm and orange, with a wooden door carved right into its side. With hearts pounding, they pushed it open. Inside, the pumpkin was not a hollow shell at all, but a maze of wonders. In one chamber, scarecrows danced in a circle, tipping their straw hats and offering caramel apples. In another, glowing lanterns floated like fireflies, drifting in the air to guide their way. They climbed a staircase made of candy corn, then slid down a long, curving slide of black licorice, laughing all the way. Each room held puzzles and riddles, but together they solved them, and every step led them deeper into delight. At last, they came to a glowing door at the far end of the maze. Clara turned the handle, and when they stepped through, they gasped. They were no longer in the forest, but in a town unlike any they had ever seen. The streets sparkled, lined with houses made of candy canes and gumdrops, and walking about were people with bright, smiling jack-o'-lantern heads. The air was filled with music and laughter, and at the very center stood the Pumpkin King himself, tall and kind, wearing a crown of autumn leaves. "Welcome, children," the Pumpkin King said warmly. "Tonight you are our special guests." With a wave of his hand, the royal seamstress appeared, carrying shimmering threads and fabric that glowed like moonlight. She measured Milo and Clara and sewed them costumes more wonderful than they had ever dreamed. Milo became a brave knight in shining silver, and Clara became a fairy with wings that sparkled like morning dew. Then the royal candy maker came forward, presenting baskets piled high with glowing lollipops, chocolates that sang, and soft caramels that melted like butter. The children were swept into a grand celebration. The pumpkin-headed townsfolk danced and twirled, music echoed in the streets, and Milo and Clara laughed and played and feasted on sweets. For one magical night, they felt lighter than air, filled with joy and belonging. But at last, the Pumpkin King guided them to the edge of town, where a glowing pumpkin carriage waited, pulled by sleek black cats whose eyes gleamed in the dark. "Every child deserves a little magic," he said kindly. "Take this joy with you always." Milo and Clara climbed inside, and with a jolt, the carriage whisked them through the night. Stars streaked above, the forest blurred past, and in the blink of an eye, they were home again at their little farmhouse. Their costumes were still upon them, their baskets of candy still full. Nothing had disappeared. The next evening, on Halloween night itself, Milo and Clara walked proudly into town. Milo's knightly armor gleamed, and Clara's fairy wings sparkled in the lamplight. The other children stared in wonder, and for the first time, Milo and Clara didn't feel poor or plain. They laughed, they played, they filled their baskets with candy, and their hearts overflowed with joy. And though they never told anyone the secret of Pumpkin Town, they carried its magic with them forever. For sometimes the true spirit of Halloween is not in what you have, but in where your imagination dares to take you. And that, my friends, is the story of Pumpkin Town. The end.